In today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at our upcoming modeled guidance, just jumping right into it. As you can see, we do have some storminess across a lot of the northern United States. We're just going to move this towards this afternoon. Our jet stream pattern is doing about like this, which is what we've been expecting, this ascending pattern, and this is causing a lot of warm air to surge up the East Coast. Currently, it is 75.4 degrees here in Virginia, so very, very warm along the east coast. We do have a pretty minor low up there, and as you can see along this jet stream, there is some storminess in the form of mostly just showers, some snowfall here in very far northern New England. And a lot of this western region, we do have some snow showers damming down with this cold air that is taking place. Let's take a look at how this is going to progress towards tomorrow. As you can see, this frontal boundary begins to kind of drop a little bit as this cold fights back. We have a warm front extending like this, cold front just like this. And this is our look here. A lot of warmth doing this type of a motion here through these warmer southeast regions here. Even by Saturday, things are still going to be much, much warmer than normal. But as you can see, there is a cold front approaching, and this could be a pretty intense one with some thunderstorms. Some warm front activity here, some warm air surging up the East Coast, and some cold pockets basically working their way in through the western regions. And that is going to arrive kind of late afternoon for a lot of those areas. And really, it's going to be warmer even on Sunday. As you can see, this kind of stationary front develops and slowly starts to kind of creep northward. So there is going to be some warmer air around still. We can see this kind of creeps up and impacts areas like North Carolina, South Carolina, and that kind of stationary front boundary here that's going to stick around is there all the way through midweek. Wednesday, March 29th, we can see this is still around. We do have a more major storm system trying to develop here, bringing snow showers or mixed showers here to a lot of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and even up through New York, not Maryland, actually through Maryland as well, but mostly New York. There's what I was trying to say. As you can see, this low develops by midweek. This is going to be Wednesday the 29th, and we can see heavy snowfall potentially here for especially southern New England, but even as you work your way further northward through into New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and even southern Maine there, we can see a lot of these areas beginning to get impacted, as we do have a trough in the west, but a ridge here over the Rockies, and this is causing a little bit of a trough there in the east, as you can see. Now, as we reach Thursday into Friday, what we're going to see happen is a very strong low is going to develop here across the plains. A 993 as of now is what these models are calling for, and this will feature a warm front here to the east, and this is going to drag this warm air all the way up into the east. So we'll see this take place in just a moment, and this cold air is going to really reinforce its way back west behind the low. This is pretty classic. We are going to see that type of a flow take place here, as you can see. So what we'll have is a pretty flat trough and then a ridge over the east here with this warm air again for the weekend. The first weekend of April, actually, is Saturday, will be April 1st, is going to feature this very, very warm air in place. Now, we get a flatter jet stream to kind of end the pattern here on April 2nd. This is as far as we get into this model run. So there is going to be some question marks at this point in the game. We aren't going to really be able to tell what's going to happen after this, according to this model at least. But really looking at the formations we have here, a little bit of a low. Again, some stationary front activity in here. I'm willing to bet we're going to get another trough in the west, ridge in the east after this point. Now, the European models here, total precipitation, as you can see, features quite a bit here for the northwest, as we'll have these storms moving down these regions. And then we can get a lot of these lows moving through here. Again, featuring these cold fronts underneath, which will bring a lot of precipitation underneath them as well. And then we do get a bit of this activity also taking place at times, where we can get some snowfall in the northeast. Let's just take a look at that total snowfall, and as you can see, plenty out west. No surprise there, though. The upper Midwest does get one, and then we can see the northeast midweek, Wednesday again. Actually, this weekend, they're getting a little bit of one, and then Wednesday, a little bit of a bigger one, potentially, according to that European model. So back-to-back storms up there, bringing some snowfall. Actually, quite a bit there as we zoom in. I just want to take a look at this, but really looking at potentially 10 inches plus here. This could really easily trend warmer and just exclude these areas entirely though, so take this with a grain of salt. When you look at these more coastal southern areas, that's where we run the risk of things like that occurring. And even these amounts seem quite bullish as well to me. Now, these amounts up here do seem likely with storm number 1 there happening Saturday into Sunday. So that is a little bit more confidence. This midweek one down here, or I'll put a 2 under it, and I'll put a 1 on the storm number 1 there. So storm number 2 is a little bit less probable at this point, but obviously if we continue to see this day in and day out, then confidence will begin to rise in that type of a scenario. The GFS model here, I want to see what kind of agreement we get. Saturday we get this kind of transfer offshore of the northeast, and then some snowfall happening in here. Some mixed precipitation definitely going to play a factor as well. As we can see, that transfer hardly happens. It doesn't even become the primary low ever, but we do get snowfall through the northeast, potentially 5 to 10 inches for some areas. Now, as we work our way towards midweek, you can see, again, look at this. This GFS model doesn't even show it connecting. So, yeah, on the European model, we do have snowfall here, but our GFS model doesn't even have it connecting. So, certainly take that with a grain of salt. Even though we're only a few days away, this definitely has very high boom or bust potential. And what I mean by that is it can either explode and 15, 20 inches of snowfall could occur, or we could see it just trend a little bit south on that European model, and then all of a sudden 0 inches of snow for anybody. Really looking like a hit or miss system there. Very interesting to say the least. These are the most fun to track for somebody that loves a challenge. For somebody that doesn't like a challenge, it is a nightmare. Let's just keep going with this. We can see the strong ridging pattern here in the east that we're seeing due to this storm. Next weekend might be even warmer than this weekend, and we have a beautifully placed high pressure system as well here, and this is going to help also work that warm air up the east coast, in addition to this low here that also is going to have something like this. You can see all these factors are contributing and leading towards warm ridging in the east. Also, we have some cold air diving southward in the west by this weekend, and that is also going to play a contributing factor as well. But this is a super warm looking pattern when you have the high anywhere, really anywhere in this pocket at all, and then a low over the middle of the United States. That does one thing and one thing only, and that surges the warm air northward for the eastern half of the nation. And again, the jet stream confirms this, as you can see. So that would be quite warm, followed by a very powerful cold front and ultimately Arctic blast here, as you can see. So this would be a back and forth pattern as we just quickly on April 1st dive back into this Arctic blast pattern. Stationary front still set up here. And then let's see what happens in the long range. We do get more ridging at times. Look at that. So again, already by the 7th, we've returned to a pattern quite like this. Just like that. We don't have the high offshore, so this isn't as warm of a looking pattern, but we do have that low moving across the central plains, which would certainly encourage warm in the east. I want to just take a look here and see if we can get the 10-day temperature anomalies here. So it looks like a majority of the next 10 days, as you can see, very warm, especially in these pockets here, the southeast all the way up the east coast for the most part, at least neutral for most of these eastern regions, and far below normal here for a lot of these areas out west. But as we head towards the second through, or at least the last half, the final half of this model run, it pushes itself a little bit further west and a little bit further south, where this northeast corridor isn't as included anymore here on the GFS model. But it is interesting to take a look at this. And even as we take a look at this European ensemble model, you can see warmth in the east for a majority of this model run. We do get some cold in between there, but look at this. Right around the 1st here, when the GFS has a major trough, our European ensemble model says, nope, not going to happen. We're actually going to be in this type of a pattern. As you can see, that is the look here. As we just continue this on, we do see more warmth in the east than in the west, but it begins to show the cold starting to move its way down into the east here. But really, we have a majority cold out west, and I still think this is a little bit too aggressive with that cold air. I want to see if over the next 10 days we get agreement, and we do. So this is the pattern over the next 10 days according to the European ensemble model. Pretty on par with that GFS model. And then that final period here looking a little bit more iffy, but the more coastal you are, the higher chances of warmth, according to this model at least. So a very interesting pattern. Things are progressing about how I expected. Stay tuned with us. We are going to upload daily as always. We'll go over all of these things and just continue to kind of just predict what that trend is going to look like moving forward as we transition from winter into spring. It's been a pretty slow and cold transition compared to what the winter was like, but we're going to kind of just guide our way through it, obviously. Now, also, you can hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Also, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.